Good afternoon, dear students. Today's science lesson. So we were dealing with a new unit, that was unit 4, classification. We have completed 2 lessons, that is 4.1 and 4.2. So today we will start a new lesson, that is 4.3, vertebrates. So till now we have discussed everything, most of the things about classification, why classification is done, and what is the importance of classification, how are living organisms classified, that is living organisms are basically classified into plants and animals. So we have taken the case study of animals. So we have studied or discussed the classification of animals into vertebrates and invertebrates. And not only that, in our previous class, we have discussed about invertebrates. How do we classify these invertebrates as arthropods, insects, and so on. So we have studied a little bit on invertebrates. So today in this lesson, we will start studying about vertebrates. So learning objective was learn about vertebrates. So what are vertebrates? What is the speciality of vertebrate? We have studied the definition of vertebrates in our previous class itself. I have discussed it. So what vertebrates are the animals with backbones and also a bony skeleton. You remember it, right? So their skeleton will be made up of bones. As if in the case of human beings, we all have seen this skeletal system of human being, right? So the skeletal system is made up of what? Bones. So vertebrate skeleton system is made up of bones and they are having backbone. So backbone is the important word you have to remember. So vertebrates are bigger and smarter than most invertebrates. So basically vertebrates are bigger as well as they are smarter than most of the invertebrates. Invertebrates are not much smarter or they are smaller than vertebrates comparatively. Okay, you cannot generalize. There may be exceptions, but still. They have a complicated nervous system. So, vertebrates are having a complicated nervous system. That is the important thing. You all know what is nervous system, right? The system which includes neurons, brain, spinal cord, etc. and which deals with providing response to stimulus. Right. So, nervous system means the system which includes spinal cord, brain, nerves, neuron, etc. And it is a system which helps you to respond to stimuli. Okay. So anyway, vertebrates are having a complicated nervous system. So best example is human beings. We are having a very good nervous system compared to all other animals. Now, vertebrates. Another feature of vertebrates is that a skull keeps their brain safe and a backbone protects their spinal cord. So we have discussed that vertebrates are having a complicated nervous system. This nervous system, our nervous system includes 2 major organs, that is brain and spinal cord. Okay, brain, you know where is brain situated? Inside the skull, right? You all know what is skull. Skull is made up of bone and it protects the brain. Okay, now you all know what is backbone. We also call it vertebral column, whatever. This backbone protects a very important nerve, that is spinal cord. Okay, so skull keeps vertebrates brain safe. That means skull protects brain and backbone protects spinal cord. Don't forget, backbone is the function of backbone. Basic function of backbone is to protect spinal cord and basic function of skull is to protect brain. Both of them are made up of bones and this brain and spinal cord are important organs of nervous system. This one is more than 20 meters long. So it belonged to a whale. I will show you. See this? So here you can see this is what 20 meter long and this is backbone, you know. It's very long. You know, whales are very big. So there are fewer vertebrates than invertebrates, but it is still helpful to classify them. So you all know that invertebrates, that was 70%. You remember that pie chart we have discussed in our previous class. So invertebrates were 70% and vertebrates were only 3%, right? So very less number of vertebrates are there compared to invertebrates. But still we have to study about them. It is important to classify invertebrates because there are a wide variety of vertebrates you can see. For example, fish, which is seen in water is a vertebrate, and human beings is a vertebrates. There is a lot of difference between fish and the human being, right? So it is important to classify vertebrates so that we can identify them better, we can understand them better, study about them better. Okay, vertebrate species form 5 main groups. So please don't forget, vertebrates are classified into 5 main groups. Okay, the features each group shares are listed in the chart below. So I'll show you the chart. So what will be the 5 main groups? Can you tell me what are the 5 different vertebrates? I have told you fish is a vertebrate. Okay, now another thing is there which is also seen in water, that is amphibians, right? They also go to land. Now third one is reptiles. Okay, now fourth one is birds and fifth one is mammals. So I'll show you the chart. So these are the 5 categories of vertebrates. So vertebrates are classified into 5 main groups. So first one is fish. Okay, what are the features of fish? You can see fishes have gills. Okay, now they use it for respiration. Now they have scales. You know what is scales, right? You see some like round semicircle portions on the surface of fishes and all, right? So that is scales, and they have fins which is helping for them for swimming. Okay, so fishes are having 3 particular features, that are they are having gills, they have scales, and they have fins. Okay, now second category is amphibians. Amphibians means frog, etc. Okay, so you can see amphibian is a very good example for frog is a very good example for amphibian. Salamander, bufo, etc. are all other examples for amphibians. The most common example is frog. Now what are the features of amphibians? First point is eggs laid in water. So they lay their eggs in water. So that is important about amphibians. For amphibians, water is necessary for completing their life cycle. That is, even though frog can live on land, it is easy for frog to live on land. But to reproduce, that means to lay egg, water is essential. And you know that frog, there is like first form is there, we call it tadpole, right? So it lives in water, right? The small baby frog, the baby of frog that we call as tadpole, lives in water. That means for frogs and other amphibians, they compulsorily require water to complete their life cycle. So that is their difference. Okay, so with fishes can only live in water, but amphibians can live on land, but still for completing their life cycle, for laying eggs, they need water. Now next one is larvae have gills. So amphibians, their larvae, the larvae means the small baby. Okay, we call tadpole and all. So larvae are having gills. Now third one is naked skin. So their skin is naked. If someone have touched ever a frog, you will understand it is slimy, it's smooth, and it's naked. Okay. Now third group is, here skin is used for respiration also. So you don't have to study much about this in today's lesson. Okay. So third category is reptiles. Reptiles, the basic thing is, most important thing is waterproof eggs. So they lay waterproof eggs. That is important about them. And next thing is their hard scales. So in the case of reptiles, snake, tortoise, then crocodile are example. Okay, very common examples are tortoise, snake, crocodile, etc. So reptiles are third category of vertebrates, and they lay waterproof eggs, and they have hard scales. So if you consider the case of crocodile and all, you can see that they're having very hard scales. Okay, there may be exceptions, but still we are just generalizing things. Okay, now about tortoise, it is having a hard cover. So there is difference, but still. Now fourth category is birds. Okay, birds, different examples you can give: crow, parrot, peacock, many examples are there, eagle, vultures, etc. Duck. So many examples you can give for birds. Now birds, the features are shelled eggs. You all know the chicken egg, right? So what is the peculiarity? It is having a shell. The egg is having a white shell. So basically birds lay shelled eggs. Okay. Now next thing is that they are having feathers. So they have feathers to cover their body. That is another feature of birds. And not only that, they are having wings. Okay. They have wings for flying. So birds have the ability to fly. Other organisms not having the ability to fly. Exceptional cases are there. For example, bat is an example, sorry, exception, but still I'm generalizing. All the birds, there is exception still. So most of the birds can fly because of their wings. Okay. Now for fifth category and the most important category is mammals, in which human beings belongs. Okay, so what are the features of mammals? They give birth. Okay, mammals, the basic feature is that they give birth. There may be exception, but you don't have to study all those things now. You just have to study the general features of mammals. So they give birth. Now they produce milk. So another very important feature is that they produce milk and they have hair. Okay, so these are the features of 5 groups of vertebrates. What were the 5 groups? Fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals. Okay, so fishes are peculiarities, amphibians features, everything you have to study. Vertebrate groups. So now we will discuss some of the vertebrate groups that we have already discussed. So fish are only found in water. So we all know the first category was fish, and fishes are only found in water. So they cannot live on land. So if you just keep a fish on land, it will die. We definitely know that. Their gills don't work in air. Why they are not living in land? Because their gills will only work in water. Their gills are the respiratory organ for what? Fishes. For example, our respiratory organ is lungs, right? So human beings' respiratory organ is lungs. In the same manner, gills are the respiratory organ of fishes, and those gills will not work in air. So they can only live in water. Amphibians can breathe air but only reproduce in water. So I have discussed it. Amphibians then can breathe air, they can live on land, but what is the problem? For reproducing, for laying eggs, water is compulsory for them. Other groups have species that can live in drier places also. Okay, there are like human mammals, birds, as well as even reptiles can live in drier places. That means without water also we can live. But okay, they have waterproof body coverings and use internal fertilization. Okay, so waterproof body coverings will be there because for example, birds are having feathers. Okay, we are having hairs. Human beings are having hairs. Mammals are having hairs. For example, animals, many animals like tiger, lion, etc. are having fur. Okay, all of these are body coverings. Okay, now another thing is they use internal fertilization. Internal fertilization means the fusion of gametes, male and female gamete, takes place inside the body. Okay, so inside the body, this fertilization takes place. So this, after the fertilization, zygote will be there formed. Zygote will be formed, and zygote will develop into a child or a baby. Okay, in every case, child we are considering in the case of human being. So fertilization means male gamete and female gamete fusion, and after fusion, what will be produced? Zygote will be produced, and zygote will turn into a fetus which we call as child in the case of human being, or any offspring in the case of other animals. Okay, so internal fertilization means the fusion takes place inside the body. That is internal fertilization. So just go through these questions. Vertebrates backbone job is protect their spinal cord. Groups of vertebrates, 5 main groups are there. Amphibians and fishes are different because fish breathe using gills. Amphibians have lungs when they are adults, and no scales or fins for amphibians. Now this question answers, cats and dogs need more food than a snake because they use extra energy to keep their bodies at a constant temperature. They are warm-blooded. We will discuss more about warm blood and cold blood in the next class. So this is all about today. You just have to study the different classification of vertebrates, the five major groups. Okay, thank you so much.